Borthakur IAS Academy, an endeavor of excellence.
Borthakur IAS Academy.
Hello everyone, welcome to Borthakur IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. I hope you all are doing well. I am here with another segment of Current Affairs 365 dated 28th of July 2021. This is your one-stop solution for any news and updates which will help you prepare for your civil services examination, and along with that it is also going to be beneficial for any other Assam state government services. So don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. So the first news of today is about India entering the Super 40 Club for World Heritage Site inscriptions. UNESCO has announced the Harappan city of Dholavira in Gujarat as India's 40th World Heritage Site. It is the first site of Indus Valley civilization in India to be included on this coveted list. Apart from India, Spain, Italy, Germany, China and France have 40 or more World Heritage Sites. India has 40 World Heritage Sites overall, which includes 32 cultural and 7 natural ones. Along with that, one is of mixed property. The Ramappa Temple of Telangana was India's 39th World Heritage Site. Coming to Dholavira, it is one of the most remarkable and well-preserved urban settlements in South Asia, which was discovered in the year 1968 by archaeologist Jagatpati Joshi. After Mohenjo-daro, Ganveriwala and Harappa in Pakistan, along with Rakhigarhi in Haryana of India, Dholavira was the fifth largest metropolis of Indus Valley civilization. This site contains ruins of an ancient Harappan city which comprises of two parts, a walled city and a cemetery to the west of the city. The walled city consists of a fortified castle with attached fortified bailey and a ceremonial ground. Along with that, there was a fortified middle town and a lower town as well. A series of reservoirs are found to the east and south of the citadel. The ancient city of Dholavira is an archaeological site at the Kutch district in the state of Gujarat, and its location is on the Tropic of Cancer. It is located on the Khadir Bait Island in Kutch Desert Wildlife Sanctuary in the Great Run of Kutch. And unlike other Harappan towns which are normally located near to rivers and perennial sources of water, the location of Dholavira is a bit different. This was strategic to harness the different minerals and raw material sources like copper, shell, then lead, banded limestones and among others. It also facilitated internal as well as external trade to the modern Oman Peninsula and Mesopotamian regions. Artifacts which are found here includes the terracotta pottery, beads, gold and copper ornaments, seals, tools, urns and some other important vessels. It is believed that the traders of Dholavira used to source copper ore from present-day Rajasthan, Oman and UAE and exported the finished products. Near the ancient city, there is a fossil park where wood fossils are preserved. Unlike the graves of other Indus Valley civilization sites, no mortal remains of human have been discovered at Dholavira. Distinct features of this site includes cascading series of water reservoirs, outer fortification, two multi-purpose grounds, one was used for festivities and other as a marketplace, 9 gates with unique designs, etc. Its decline also coincided with the collapse of Mesopotamia, indicating integration of economies. Harappans, who were maritime people, they lost a huge market affecting the local mining, manufacturing, marketing and export businesses once Mesopotamia fell. Dholavira also entered a phase of severe aridity due to climate changes and rivers like Saraswati drying up. Due to a drought-like situation, people started migrating towards the Ganga Valley or towards South Gujarat and further beyond in Maharashtra. Further, the Great Run of Kutch, which surrounds the Khadir Island on which Dholavira is located, it used to be navigable, but the sea receded gradually and run became a mud flat. Secondly, we will have a look at the new capacity building initiative on making water sensitive cities in Ganga Basin. It was launched by the National Mission for Clean Ganga in association with Center for Science and Environment. The main aim of this program is capacity building and action research for promoting sustainable urban water management for improved river health in Ganga Basin cities. The major focus areas includes water sensitive urban design and planning, urban water efficiency and conservation, decentralized wastewater treatment and local reuse, urban groundwater management, and urban water bodies lake management. This initiative is aimed to ensure convergence of the Namami Gange mission with the national flagship urban missions. The program will engage all the stakeholders, which includes the State Program Management Group, municipal corporations, technical and research constants, and other local grassroots communities. Coming to the water sensitive urban design and planning, it is an emerging urban development paradigm aimed to minimize the hydrological impacts of urban development on the environment. This includes the method of planning and designing urban areas for optimum utilization of water, reducing the harm caused to our rivers and creeks, and also it focuses on the management of entire water systems. There is a paradigm shift in planning for river cities, which includes the River Cities Alliance. It will provide a unique platform for river cities to collaborate for collectively achieving river rejuvenation through sustainable development and capacity building. Also, the Jal Shakti Ministry has introduced the Catch the Rain initiative that was launched for rainwater harvesting. It has urged all the stakeholders to create rainwater harvesting structures suitable for climate conditions and subsoil strata to store the rainwater. The intensity of rain has increased over the years, but number of rainy days has reduced. Thus, it has made water management a crucial subject. There is a need to use the traditional knowledge of rainwater harvesting. For example, the Alhar Pine system of Bihar, wells in forts of Rajasthan, as well as the cascade tanks of South India. There is a need for a framework for integration between urban built form, including landscape, and the urban water cycle. Cities that are largely held responsible for the deteriorated states of rivers needs to play a vital role in rejuvenation efforts of the rivers, as well as there is a need to mainstream the river sensitive approaches while planning for the cities. The third news is about exercise Indra 21. The 12th edition of Indo-Russian Joint Military Exercise Indra will be held at Volgograd, Russia in August 2021. This exercise will entail conduct of counter-terror operations under the United Nations mandate by a joint force against international terror groups. The Indra series of exercises first started in the year 2003, and the first joint tri-services exercise was conducted in 2017. The last joint tri-services exercise between India and Russia was held in India in the year 2019, and it was held simultaneously at Babina, Pune, and Goa. In the domain of international relations, military diplomacy has in recent years emerged as a major tool to further the diplomatic interests of nations. Participation in these international level military exercises is also an indication of the highest level of trust and confidence between the member nations. On the operational side, we can see that these exercises enables the militaries to understand each other's drills and procedures, overcome language barriers, and also facilitate familiarization with the equipment capabilities. The most important advantage of these exercises is the strategic signaling. A joint exercise with one or more nations, it serves the purpose of signaling to a third country the influence we have in the region and a demonstration of our resolve to further our diplomatic objectives. And on the intangible side, military exercises also promotes brotherhood between the soldiers and the militaries. The next news is about joint actions in Afghanistan by China and Pakistan. Both the countries have decided to launch joint actions in Afghanistan to stop the war-torn country from becoming a hotbed of terrorism. This joint action has been outlined in 5 areas. First, to avoid the expansion of war and prevent Afghanistan from falling into a full-scale civil war. Then, to promote the intra-Afghan negotiations between the government and the Taliban. Thirdly, to resolutely combat terrorist forces and push all major forces in Afghanistan to draw a clear line against terrorism. Then, to promote cooperation among Afghanistan's neighbors and to explore the construction of a platform for cooperation among them. And lastly, to closely work on international fora on the Afghan issue. Here, Pakistan is mainly concerned over the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which has been waging an insurgency against the country for several years. Along with that, China is worried over the regrouping of the Uyghur militants from the Xinjiang province. If the situation in Afghanistan further deteriorates, Pakistan as well as China will be in danger. Okay, the project China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, it will not be fruitful, and along with that, many other Chinese projects in Afghanistan and Pakistan will have to suffer. For example, there was a recent bomb attack on a shuttle bus carrying Chinese engineers at the Dasu area of Upper Kohistan district in Pakistan, where Chinese company is building a 4,320 megawatt dam on the Indus River. India has opposed the CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, because it passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Although China has pushed ahead with projects and stepped up its investments in that particular area. Coming to India's interest here, India is protecting its investments which run into billions of rupees in Afghanistan, and it is also preventing a future Taliban regime from being a pawn of the Pakistan. Lastly, India is making sure that the Pakistan-backed anti-India terrorist groups, it does not get support from the Taliban. Here, India's Afghan policy is at a major crossroads to safeguard its assets there and also to stay relevant in the unfolding of the great game. India must fundamentally reset its Afghanistan policy. Along with that, India also needs to re-evaluate its decision and be more omnidirectional in its approach to deal with all the forces that are central to the future of Afghanistan. So this was all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it will be helpful. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll see you all again tomorrow with another segment of Current Affairs 365 only on Bort Thakur's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. Till then, take care, keep learning. Bye-bye.
Bort Thakur IAS Academy প্রস্তুতি আৰু অধ্যয়নৰ নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য ঠিকনা
বৰঠাকুৰ IAS Academy